Our top story tonight, the markets bleed red on expiry day, taking indices to their lowest level since the 14th of January. Since January 2014, the Sensex drops over 600 points and the Nifty drops below 8,400. The Rupee sees its worst single-day drop in 2 weeks.
Oil prices surge almost 4% as Saudi Arabia leads a 10-nation strike against militia in Yemen. NYMEX crude trades above $51 a barrel. Brent was nearing $59 a barrel.
Surging oil prices make for a slippery walk on Wall Street. The Dow and the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 are down over 0.5% each.
The Supreme Court says the spectrum auction is final, but allocation will take place only after the final verdict. Idea Cellular faces a bill of over 30,000 crore rupees, but the government unlikely to get the first tranche this fiscal, forcing the finance ministers to squeeze expenditure to meet fiscal deficit targets.
The Delhi High Court raises an eyebrow over the government's decision to cancel the coal block bids from JSPL and Balco, calls the move unfair, asks why the government has changed its stance on the possibility of cartelization, also asks why a re-auction has not been considered.
Whoever asks for the minimum support, like a viability gap funding, will be the person who will get this support.
The government offers more support to gas-based power plants a day after clearing a new policy to import LNG and allocate it via a reverse bidding process. Power Minister Piyush Goyal tells CNBC TV 18 the centre will provide discoms with financial aid to buy power from gas-based plants.
France's chief prosecutor alleges foul play in the crash of a Germanwings flight, says initial investigations reveal the co-pilot may have deliberately crashed the plane.
Jet Airways looks to shore up operations as it tries to fly back into the black by 2018. Says additional flights on domestic and foreign routes and its soon-to-be launched cargo services will help it stay on course.
The India story is not about a quarter or even a year. It's a very, very long-term story.
Global FMCG giant Reckitt Benckiser says it's very optimistic about the India story, banks on newer products to expand its India footprint.
Digital marketing is a new business. We're starting from scratch here in India.
Digital marketing solutions giant Adobe is set to revamp India operations as it looks to make the most of the Digital India drive. Says it will increase headcount and expand new verticals like consulting and system integration as it pushes for a higher growth trajectory.
It's going to work quickly because the shot ball. Brilliant. Fantastic batting. That'll be 100 for Steve Smith. The ball angled back in. Yes, finish it in again. That's how it's up. It's given up. It's in the stumps. It's a dismissal from Mitchell Stark. Australia are through to the World Cup final on Sunday at the MCG against New Zealand, and half the players over the moon. The competition are through to the final of the MCG.
It's a sad, sad day for all of us Indian cricketing fans. The defending champions have failed to make it to the finals of the ICC World Cup, and that's after a massive 95-run victory. Australia will battle it out with co-host New Zealand for the top honours on the 29th of March. Shireen, let's be honest, we didn't play like world champions. Let's try and reclaim it in 2019 in England, and that's why I'm wearing blue tonight.
All right, that's why you're wearing blue tonight. I'm glad you're wearing blue tonight, unlike the others who've discarded their India t-shirts already. It's a game. Someone has to win, someone loses. Today was our turn. Better luck next time, as Nantara was pointing out, but it gives a whole new meaning to
It's not luck. We didn't play like champions. We have to think.
Sure, luck, and we didn't play like champions. So better luck next time, Nantara, is what I was trying to say. But better luck for Dalal Street needed as well. The indices bleeding red this afternoon. It was a disaster for our markets. Weak global cues and the futures and option expiry, forcing the Nifty and the Sensex to close at their lowest level today, down about 600 points. The Sensex dropping over 650 points. The Nifty slipping below 8,350 with a 200-point plunge. Mid-cap stocks not being spared either. The mid-cap index losing close to about 1%. Anuj is standing by now to take us through the detailed account of the market action. Anuj, you know, we've been hearing so much talk of the correction being almost over. Clearly, it doesn't seem that way. What's your sense of where the markets are now headed after today's brutal fall?
Well, this market right now is clearly under a firm grip of the bears. The bears are making just too much money. They have too much ammunition right now. And today morning, what happened was that the bears had the perfect cocktail. It was expiry in a series which has been weak. And of course, the global cues were also quite weak. So the market had a gap down, but that gap down was also sold into. And by the end, the market had built even further gap. Everything fell in today's trade, except for a couple of cement stocks. Everything was dragging, and the Bank Nifty fell 500 points from the start of the trade. Let's talk about some of the stocks then that led the market decline today. The three heavyweights, HDFC, Infosys, Tata Motors, they were all lower in trade today. Then you had bank stocks like SBI, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, all of them lower in trade again, about 3% lower for all of them. IT also didn't support the market today. All the IT stocks, whether it was Wipro, whether it was Infosys, TCS, all of them lower by about 2 to 4%. On a day like this, you would expect metals also to sell off, and that is exactly what happened. So stocks like Sesa Sterlite, Tata Steel, Hindalco, they were all lower in trade today. And finally, it was a secular decline, whether it was a high beta stock like DLF or low beta stocks like Dr. Reddy's or Hindustan Unilever. They were all down in trade. So really, it's been a crunching fall for the bulls. It's been the first real correction that we have seen in this bull market. The Bank Nifty is now down 14% from the top, and it looks like that the correction could extend a bit. April could be a different month, but we still have about 3 to 4 days to go for that. And the general sense is that some more volatility is not ruled out.
All right, volatility continues to be the order of the day, and we could see the markets correct further from these levels. Anuj, appreciate you joining us. We've been speaking with a whole bunch of market experts, and the view is unanimous. Consolidation, correction is expected in the short term, but this could be a good buying opportunity. Deven Choksi of KR Choksi Securities says that a lot of the day's brutality stems from traders choosing to stick with cash because we're headed into a truncated trading week. That's next week. So he believes that if the Nifty breaks below the 8,300 mark, he sees that as a crucial support level, then we could see it drift down to about 8,100. Sanjay Dutt of Quantum Securities does not expect a substantial recovery in the market. In fact, he expects the markets to correct further, but he sees this as a buying opportunity. And Anand Tandon maintains that a further consolidation is on the cards, but he would also be a buyer on dips. Listen in.
I think 8,300 level is a decent support level for Nifty. Should it break, then we will go gradually down to 8,100, and in a worst situation, 8,700 kind of level. As of now, I would like to calibrate, I think, this particular fall gradually. I would not like to see, I think, it happens rapidly the way in which it has happened today. Maybe, I think, due to the long weekend next week and probably truncated week, I think the players have, I think, clearly offloaded the long position, and that's where I think the market has given up today. I would like to believe that I think market would consolidate and take some support at lower levels.
I think we are at the lower end of the range, so I think probably it would be a good time to start looking at options to buy, looking at things to buy. I'm not saying that we'll have a V-shaped rebound. I doubt that. But at least I think the major part of the sell-off is done with. We'll probably consolidate at these levels. Now we'll wait for the quarterly numbers that are going to start flowing in the next week, 10 days. So if the numbers are as per expectations or below expectations, we'll react to that. In the next few days, I don't expect a substantial recovery in the market. I still see a tad more selling to come in there. And that should be bought into, because I don't see the markets going down another 200 points, but I don't see much earnings surprises either coming in, because whatever I did talk to the corporate sector today, things haven't really changed dramatically as the sentiment was showing them to be.
Market had overstretched itself for quite some time now. The first correction in any serious manner, and that too has only been about 4 or 5% from the top. So I would argue that we have still some more space to go. Everything else in the world remaining the same, you could have another couple of 100 points off on the Nifty fairly easily. And that will just bring you back to where we were in January of this year. at which point of time the market was already reasonably overvalued. If things were to become worse globally, then you could have a sharper cut. But for now, I would argue that, a couple of percentage points more, and we should be finding stocks which are worth buying again.
For the most influential market voices there, where their views on where the last street is headed, and the pain in the stock markets have the currency markets shuddering. The rupee weakened sharply against the dollar, and that too by over 30 paise. That's the worst fall the domestic currency has witnessed in 2 weeks. By month end, the demand for American currencies also surged. This as oil importers braced themselves to deal with a spike in oil prices, and that's only made matters worse.
That's right, that's the rupee. But speaking of oil prices, Nantara, global crude oil prices jumping nearly 5% in early trade. This after Saudi Arabia and other Gulf nations launched an airstrike against rebel forces in Yemen. This after the Houthi rebels backed by Iran closed in on the city of Aden, forcing the country's president to flee. The airstrikes have stoked concerns about the security of Middle East oil shipments and possible disruptions to supply. Oil prices have cooled off a little, but still trading higher than Wednesday's closing price. Brent is now holding about 3% higher at 58.14. NYMEX now 2% higher at 50.25. So that's the story there as far as crude is concerned. And analysts say the fundamental factors in the oil market seem to be favoring an uptrend at the moment. However, the long-term trend continues to suggest that we could see volatility, but at least in the short term, crude prices are headed higher.
Market will pull further higher. This fundamental support is definitely going to push the price at around $60-61. And domestic market, you can see the price already was hitting almost 5.5% higher levels. But right now, just profit booking I've seen on the evening session. But then major trend is still bullish. Psychologically, the price is still trading above the $50 mark, and domestic market at 3,000 level mark, which shows firmness. So any decline is a good level to accumulate, and you can expect the market to test around $65, and domestic market you can see 3,600 to 4,000 level in coming days.
On the back of geopolitical concerns, we've seen crude prices surge today. A quick check of the global markets. Concerns over escalating political chaos in Yemen also weighing in on the equity markets in Europe. We bring up the frontline indices for you. It's a sea of red. The French CAC down by over 1%, as is the German DAX, and the British FTSE down by about 1.5%. Across the Atlantic, let's do a quick check of the US markets. We did see some disappointing jobs data come out today, perhaps in reaction to that as well. You're seeing the equity markets there down by about 0.2% to almost 0.4%.
So the global market cues not looking particularly good for our markets when they open for trade tomorrow. But let's talk about the other big story back home. The Supreme Court has lifted the embargo on the government to announce results of the Spectrum auction that concluded on the 25th of March. Sharing the breakup of the auction results, Telecom Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad said that the Aditya Birla Group's Idea Cellular bid most aggressively, followed by Bharti Airtel, Vodafone and Reliance Jio, having received bids worth over 1,09,000 crore rupees. The government has appealed to telcos to make the earnest money deposit of 28,872 crore rupees by the 31st of March to ease the government's fiscal burden. Malvika Jain dials in with the details.
It's another bumper bonanza auction for the government. Out of the total bids, India's third largest telecom company by market share, Idea Cellular, bid for spectrum worth 30,306 crore rupees, followed by Bharti, which bid for 29,310 crore rupees, Vodafone for 25,959 crore rupees, Reliance Jio for 10,077 crore rupees, Tata Tele for 7,851 crore rupees. Remember that out of 22 telecom licenses in total, Idea needed to renew its licenses in 9 circles, Vodafone and Reliance Communications in 7 each, and Bharti Airtel in 6 circles. For these 4 companies, the auctions were a make-or-break battle in some circles, and analysts believe that this left telcos with no choice but to bid aggressively.
The yearly load is going to be 5,300 crores only. And the total revenue of all the telecom companies is 2 lakh crore plus. Therefore, as per my calculation given by a competent person, the load per consumer is going to be hardly 1 paisa per minute. It's not going to be a big thing. India is a huge market. Let's see the potential. We have 97 crore plus mobile phones in India. Therefore, it will be win-win for all. We try to do everything on predictable, clear norms. I don't think it will be a big impact, because Digital India is coming. We are going to have huge data demands. 97.50 crores mobile phones in India, going to touch 1 billion, 100 crore very soon. Therefore, I don't think there shall be any impact. On the contrary, this will lead to better services, more efficiency. Yes, today I must tell you on CNBC, many walls were created. There is not enough spectrum. Today you see in 2100, about 15 megahertz has been left unsold. Though they were saying, why don't you bring 1500 megahertz more, though that is subject to harmonization and swapping. Secondly, the wall, too costly, you have seen that. Third wall, the prices of tariff will touch the sky. That is, in my considered opinion, wrong. But what is important is, I have no role in the determination of tariff. That is a business case to be decided by all the operators. And if India is a huge market, I am sure they will understand the meaning of meaningful competition. As regards the spectrum sharing and trading guidelines are concerned, they are in the process of being finalized. If the Telecom Commission, the body, differs to the recommendation, it has to go back again.
So would you be able to tell us when the Telecom Commission will be meeting?
I have asked them to finalize it shortly. Let's await. But that is a legal process. I have asked them to expedite. But this fair auction, trading and sharing will also be in place.
While it remains to be seen if telcos will pay heed to the telecom minister's appeal, ratings agency Moody's has termed the high bids received in spectrum auction as credit positive for India and has said that proceeds from the sale of airwaves will help the government pluck the fiscal deficit. In New Delhi, Malvika Jain.
Well, joining us to talk about the implications of the spectrum auction is Jaideep Ghosh, partner at KPMG Advisory Services. Jaideep, appreciate you joining us. We finally have the official numbers now. The highest, of course, is Idea Cellular's bids worth about 30,306 crore rupees, Bharti 29,310, Vodafone 29,959. These guys had no choice. They had to hold on to their existing spectrum. They had to retain their licenses. Has it gone as per your expectations?
Yes, Shreen, I think it is as per expectations because, as you said, they had no choice but to renew their licenses. And the base price, the reserve price of all the spectrum that was put up for auction itself was in the range of 80,000 crores. So even if, as per my estimate, even if, 85-90% gets sold, which is what has happened, we were expecting the prices to touch somewhere in the range of 100,000 crores. So it is definitely as per expectations, and especially because this is in a way a milestone, if I may say so, because this kind of in a way concludes the first 20 years of India's private sector mobile story, and with this auction now it's the next 20 years where we'll see different dynamics. So to that extent, I think it was expected to be in that range.
What happens now to the industry and what happens now to the consumer as far as tariffs are concerned? You just heard the telecom minister there saying that he doesn't expect tariffs to go up because he doesn't believe that industry has been unnecessarily burdened. But the COAI is saying that they have now been brought down to their knees because of the financial burden. Where does this really leave things for the industry and for tariffs?
Let me answer the second one first. In terms of tariff, I think my view is a bit contrary to what maybe I read or hear in the media. I don't think, I'm not expecting a huge tariff increase, tomorrow morning or something like that. 3 points here. One is data tariff. Data price will actually come down. That's what the trend has been, internationally. That has been the trend in India. And as it's a simple economics. The data growth is high. There are more and more people who will, increasingly use data. So the moment the prices are affordable, you have more people coming into the data game, and the smartphones are getting cheaper. So I think data price will actually come down. It will not go up at all. So far as the voice tariff is concerned, it may not come down, it may go up a little bit.
Okay.
But what are we talking about? A prepaid user ARPU is about 100 rupees in India. Even if it goes up by 5 rupee, 10 rupee, I don't think it's a big deal, and I think it is too much being made of this price hike. Even if there's a little hike on the voice tariff, I don't think it's too it's too damaging for the consumer.
So you're saying the tariff hike concerns are exaggerated. What about the concerns that now telecom companies are going to have even more stressed balance sheets? They're not going to be able to invest in infrastructure. What happens then to the digital India dream? Do you believe that concern, that fear is also exaggerated?
Yeah, to some extent. See, it's again, we're talking about, 1,10,000 or 1,09,000 crores. Again, it's not that tomorrow morning, all the industry has to write a check for that amount. Only a certain percentage, about 1/3, is to be paid in the next, actually couple of weeks or in a week's time. The rest of it has to be paid starting 2017 over 10 years period. That's one thing. So it's not an immediate hit on the operators to pay that amount to government right now. Secondly, the spectrum is not for 1 year or something like that. This is for a period of 20 years. So please view in that context 20-year spectrum. So definitely,
I think there is a stress on the balance sheet. Yes, of course there is. 1 lakh crore is not a small number. But is it like to that extent that it's brought to the knees immediately? It may appear like that, but given a 20-year horizon and the payment over 12 years, I think it's something which the telecom operators actually have factored into their business plan already.
Okay, so my final question to you then, Jaideep, do you anticipate consolidation within the industry? We now have the minister confirming to CNBC TV 18 that they will formally announce the spectrum trading and sharing guidelines. That's expected shortly. Do you think that that could provide the trigger for real consolidation?
No, again, I mean, see, that 3 years back when the Supreme Court actually cancelled about 122 licenses, we saw some kind of forced consolidation happening. And after that, we have been talking about consolidation. I'm not seeing something again. And my views, Shireen, mostly are a bit different from what I read and hear elsewhere. I don't think immediately we should see some big consolidation happening. It may happen over a period of time. And spectrum trading and sharing actually is a contra thing. It's something which will facilitate the smaller operators to share and the spectrum, and the bigger operators to kind of trade and share. It may not actually lead to immediate consolidation. Besides the final point, there is usually, in my experience, and I work extensively in the industry, there is always a bit of a mismatch in the the valuations and things like that. I'm not seeing something happening just now in terms of consolidation again.
All right, thanks for being the contrarian voice, Jaideep Ghosh. While everybody's been talking about what this is going to mean for telecom companies, this is a gloom and doom scenario. This is going to mean a hike in tariffs. Contrarian voice, good to have you join us here on India Business Hour. From spectrum now to coal, the government today facing the heat at the hands of the Delhi High Court, which has questioned the government for the cancellation of successful bids of JSPL and Balco. The Delhi High Court, while observing the decision prima facie smacks of unfairness, has sought the answers as early as tomorrow. Ashmit joins us now with the key details. Ashmit, you were in court. Take us through the questions that the court has asked of the government, and where does that now leave this matter of JSPL and Balco?
Well, at least with respect to the cancellation of the successful bids of JSPL and Balco, the government coming in under a lot of criticism as far as the Delhi High Court is concerned. Delhi High Court observing rather that prima facie this appears to be a wrong decision, smacks of unfairness. It goes on to say that to compare JSPL and Balco's bids with respect to bids of other companies, with respect to other blocks, is an apple to orange comparison. It also goes on to say that in fact prima facie, given that JSPL and Balco are successful bidders, they do have some semblance of a right, while the government's right is not absolute. The Delhi High Court also took this opportunity to remind the government that the government had earlier stated that cartelization is mathematically impossible given the mechanisms of the auction proceedings. It also reminded the government that it had earlier stated that even in cases of single bidders, the auction process will be allowed to continue. Now, in light of all these observations, the Delhi High Court posing essentially 4 questions. Number one, the reasons behind cancellation of these successful bids in the first place. The second question the Delhi High Court is asking is why the government chose to not go in for re-auctioning of the blocks in question as compared to allotment to Coal India, and that's incidentally the third question as well. Reasons behind the government allotting these blocks in question and to Coal India and not going in for re-auctioning. And the final question that the High Court is probing is how the government seeks to ensure continuity as far as production of these blocks are concerned, given that the prior allottees will cease production on 31st March. So a host of questions. The government will have to present answers tomorrow when the High Court resumes hearing in this case. Back to you.
Thanks, Ashmit, for joining us with all of those details. That hearing to resume tomorrow, and the government is going to present its side of the argument for Jindal Steel and Balco moving the High Court. Tomorrow, the Supreme Court is going to hear the pleas of the former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, Aditya Birla Group Chairman Kumar Mangalam Birla, as well as the former Coal Secretary P.C. Parekh. That is, of course, to quash the summons issued to them by a special CBI court hearing the Hindalco coal block allocation case. So that... And power companies were in focus today in trade up and about. That's a day after the cabinet had approved a reverse bidding process for supply of imported LNG to revive 31 stranded power plants. CNBC TV 18's Anshu Sharma caught up with Piyush Goyal at the sidelines of the Growth Net Summit. Piyush Goyal told Anshu that there would be a subsidy of almost 7,500 crore rupees for over 2 years. Here's that conversation.
Well, the support is given to the DISCOM because they are the ones who finally buy the power. They will buy the power from all gas-based plants who will have to bid at what level of support they'll be able to give affordable or effectively cheaper power. The system is going to be a transparent e-bidding mechanism where, let's say, if we begin at 5.5 rupees as the supply price, the different gas plants will have to bid how much support they will require. to be able to give power at 5.5 to the discoms. And whoever asks for the minimum support, like a viability gap funding, will be the person who will get the support, and then we'll use a bucket filling approach.
5.5 is still competitive compared to thermal and hydro. So how do you expect companies to participate and states to buy these power?
Well, we'll begin at 5.5. We'll see what the response is. We have a certain amount of subsidy which has been approved, or support which has been approved. And then we have flexibility. There'll be a monitoring mechanism, an empowered group to monitor this whole scheme, which can keep changing the price, the bidding price, the base price, or which can change the amount of gas that we are going to give to the at what PLF factor the gas is going to be provided. And as we have more LNG facilities coming into India, we could even look at importing more LNG.
Piyush Goyal talking about the financial assistance that will be provided to discoms. With that, we're completely out of time, so we're going to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks for watching.